So today we're discussing the new ethics code for the Supreme Court.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I can't even almost say it with a straight face.
Yeah.
If you think of the most reliable, honest, trustworthy people in the land, there's only 9 of them, right?
It's only
And
9.
yeah, never needed an ethics code. You know, they're all attorneys, so they already have the same code that we have, right? Even though they're probably inactive, I think as a judge going active, they still are, you know, bound by that same obligation of the court of honesty, you know, all those things.
I'm very unclear with that. So if you're inactive, can you still be disciplined by the state bar?
First part, I'm not sure. That's a good question. Second part, the bar can always say, we're not going to reactivate you just because you pay your dues, right? If there was some transgression or something. So
Also, they're judges, and judges are held to such a high standard. You have to avoid conflicts of interest. You can't be swayed by anybody. You have to literally remain neutral. And it is ironic that this is affecting the Supreme Court, like the creme de la creme of the legal world.
right.
And obviously, they should, of anyone, they should know what not to do. But the other question is, who is policing them?
This is really like the crux of this whole thing.
Right.
Move aside from the laughable point that we now have this ethics code for them. These are the people that interpret the law, right? So if the
Right.
law is now that there is going to be an ethics code,
Who's watching them,
who's
though?
watching them?
And look, we laugh at other countries that have dictators. These judges are appointed and have a job for the rest of their lives. Like, they're like legal dictators, so then who's watching them?
And we've always known that it's an appointment for life, okay? And you either die or you step down. How do you remove one of these judges if you don't want them there anymore, right? It's an impeachment process.
Right.
So
Wow.
if they've exhibited bad behavior or conducted bad behavior, they can be impeached.
So let me ask you this. Is the impeachment procedure the same way that you would do a president? Like, does it have to go through Congress and all
Yeah.
the hearings
Yeah.
and things like that?
Yeah, it's identical to that, right? It's a big deal depending on who's sitting in those 9 chairs.
Right.
But we've never really questioned their integrity. We may not agree with their decisions, their policies, or their opinions, right? And we may not also agree with some of the things they did in their past, like Brett Kavanaugh.
When I heard the allegations that one of the judges received a $500,000 paid trip, to me, no way a judge can accept such a thing. I don't care if you're in People's Court, Superior Court, or the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter.
My first question is, what does that trip look
I
like?
know. And can we come?
I want to go on that
I
trip.
was actually going to say, who spends that much money,
Yeah.
I want
right?
to go on this trip. First off, why is he getting this? Like, I agree with you. There's something big going on here. Clearly, we're not the only ones that think this way because now there's an ethics code.
Even if they violate, they haven't told and explained what will happen.
So no enforceability, right? So then ethics?
At the current moment, there's none, right? We're talking about Clarence Thomas first and foremost. I know Justice Alito also had something going on, but we're talking about Clarence Thomas, right? Accepting these things. And like, I don't know if they're going to do anything. There should be somebody who's looking into this, especially now if there's an ethics code. I mean, it seems a little like subsequent remedial measure, right? If we're going
Yeah.
back to law school.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, that's
oh wait,
right.
you guys have been doing this bad stuff?
Right.
Like, let's just create this new set of rules and
Right.
from now on, let's
Fine,
follow it,
everything's
right?
fine.
But it wasn't just him, though, right? And it wasn't just Alito. I think it was also Sotomayor. There were some allegations that her staff was trying to push her book or things like that, or something very inappropriate as well. So it's not just, let's say, conservative judges. It's across the board.
We're looking at the individual, right? Not their political party or their opinions. These guys aren't really politicians. At some point in time, they might have, you know, campaigned and run for some sort of a bench seat in their district or whatever. But these are appointed positions, right?
But let me ask you this. So they're not politicians. However, let's just say that they're going to impeach Clarence Thomas, right? And we know he's conservative. You don't think that this is going to go down into a party line vote?
Absolutely, right? I mean, you know,
And that it will matter whether the Republicans have the House or the Senate?
it could get real nasty, and perhaps that's why we're just seeing this, you know, ethics code come out, and now you guys be, you know, behaved, right? Because they don't really want to get into this. Neither side, right? Because it's gonna get nasty. But the presidential elections come around in 2 years, so it's coming quick. And so there's a lot of important congressional seats that are gonna be up. Obviously the president of the United States is up for grabs. But it's really weird, right? That they have this thing now, and the question is, why do we really need it? who's going to enforce it, and then what are we doing about it?
He also failed to disclose it. That makes it seem like he knew it was bad and tried to slide it under the rug. Someone needs to police the Supreme Court, or a committee does.
I agree. I mean, it's weird that like they don't,
It's weird.
right? It's weird that they don't.
I was reading because in the Constitution there's only one Supreme Court. Therefore, if you create another court, is that going to be higher than the Supreme Court? Then it kind of violates what the Constitution said.
The president is the highest office in the land, right? He's in charge of, he or she, right, is in charge of everything. He is the one that's out there, and he is the face of our country. And, you know, when he wants to do something, yes, he has checks and balances, but it's usually stemming from him. Obviously, Congress creates the laws, okay? But, you know, if he wants something to happen, you know he's going to put pressure to make it happen.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want something to happen, he's going to step in and prevent it from happening. And but there is still checks and balances on him specifically, and that's the impeachment process. Right?
So the purpose of the Supreme Court wasn't it to just maintain that balance between the president wanting to do whatever they wanted and whatever he or she wanted, and then putting pressure on Congress to make that law happen? Wasn't then the Supreme Court there to validate or stop or interpret the law?
Absolutely.
Because someone in power for too long tends to become greedy, right? Biased.
Right.
That's the concern. So I think it's a step in the right direction. It's not the final step, though. Someone needs to monitor these guys, and there has to be a consequence for getting these kind of elaborate gifts.
I agree, but I also think that it has to be neutral, 100% neutral. And I don't know, how do you ensure that you stay apolitical and neutral? Because politics isn't everything, and everyone is going to come in with their own bias, right, in one way or another.
I'd like to see some teeth to it. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the other thing too is that if it's a matter of finances, which I already think Supreme Court judges are probably highly compensated, and it's not just their government salary, but there's a total package of other benefits that goes along with it. But if they leave the bench, just like a sitting president, right, when they leave the office, that's when the real money comes in, right?
Private
the book
practice.
deals and the speaking engagements and all this stuff. And I don't see why it would be any different for a Supreme Court justice if they wanted that, right? So if this is what, you know, Thomas wants or one of the other judges wants, like, just step off the bench, right? You've served your time, and go and enjoy the riches that life will rain down upon you for, you know, who you are and what you've done. You know, any job in the legal field that guy wants,
It's his.
it's his,
It's
right?
his, yeah.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
dean of a law school, you know,
100%.
partner in some
Yeah.
major firm, like to put your name on their letterhead or
Yeah.
on their whatever is going to be huge, and they're going to pay for it, and so you know it's going to come. So but we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Cool. Good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good
Bye.
discussion.